Hey everybody, Deplorable Bobby here. This is the way I see it. Before I get started, I want to thank my subs. My subs are the most important people on this channel, and that's the truth. I want to ask you to hit the like button. Leave me a comment. I try to answer all my comments in one form or another. I read them all. Hit the like button every chance you get. Tap the bell icon so you're notified when I'm going live or when I'm posting a video. I want to thank Dangerous Freedom for his very generous, kind, and patriotic donation that he made last night during my live stream. I'm very grateful to you, Dangerous Freedom. I consider you a friend. I talked to quite a few of my subscribers. Dangerous Freedom, he's a great guy from Arizona. I talked to Florida Jim. I talked to Tony Patriot. I talked to Liberty Smith. And a few others. But people, I'm here. And I'm willing to interact with you anytime that you want to. My information is in the About section of my profile. So if you want to contact me, feel free. I'll be happy to talk to any of you. My PayPal information is going to be in the link below. If you'd like to donate to this channel and help me grow, no matter how small the donation or how large, it's greatly appreciated. Michelle and I at Forbidden Information, as I try to say on every video, are trying to get the funds to go to D.C. We already have confirmations that when we go, we will get to meet with certain senators like John Scalise and the president's spiritual advisor. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. But I want to meet with some of these people, and Michelle and I intend to knock on doors, and we're going to ask the hard questions, and we're not going to stand for anything but the hard answer. So support Michelle at Forbidden Information and I, that we can go to D.C. and do God's work for these children. Today I want to talk about some stuff out of the UK. And you know, with Planned Parenthood and the anti-abortion fight that we've been fighting for so long, things that happen in other countries sometimes come home to us here in the United States. And this is one case that I hope is not repeated in America. People, this is a sad story and it's wrong. This woman has done something that, in my opinion, is unforgivable. There's a British judge by the name of Natalie Levin. She ordered an abortion to be performed on a mentally handicapped woman who was 22 weeks pregnant, but she had mental disabilities, and despite her objections and from the objections of the mother of the pregnant girl, this judge declared this. She declared that that woman's child will be aborted. It will be aborted by court order. There is nothing that this girl can do. There's nothing that this girl's mother can do. There's nothing the social workers can do. And there's nothing her attorneys can do. I'm going to tell you what this judge has done, and then I'll let you have your own opinion of her. Justice Levin, she admitted in open court that the ruling is heartbreaking. And it is an immense intrusion to order an abortion against the woman's will. But she argued from the bench that it's in the best interest of this woman. She said, I have to operate in her best interest and not on society's view of termination of a baby. People, we need to look at society's view it's great news to me that society thinks about these things. That's what Michelle and I are trying to put out there to everybody. You know, the unnamed woman was a Roman Catholic. She has developmental abilities and the mental age of a 6 to a 9-year-old child. Her mother is a former midwife, and she opposes the abortion procedure and told the court that she would raise this child with her daughter if they would not have this abortion procedure performed on this 22-year-old woman. A social worker who's been working with this girl and her mother. She also told the court that the pregnancy should not be aborted. As a social worker, it's her job to be involved in the lives of her clients. And evidently, for once in a great time, one social worker actually stands up for something that's right. This woman, granted, she may have mental disabilities. She has the brain of a 9-year-old. But she knows that there's a baby in her belly. But you know, this is the reason that the judge declared that she had to abort this child. The judge said the woman didn't have the mental capacity to make her own decisions, even if she wanted to continue her pregnancy. Now, did you hear that comment? It's redundant. The judge said the woman didn't have the mental capacity to make her own decisions. But then she continued and she said, even if she wanted to continue the pregnancy. So see, she's double talking. She's saying on one hand that the woman can't make a decision, and then yet she says she's doing it even if the woman wants to continue the pregnancy and birth this child. So see, she's talking out of both sides of her mouth. I'm sure she didn't even realize it when she said it. And I've read this 2 or 3 times and I just now saw it. But that's what she's doing, people. She said the woman didn't have the mental capacity to make her own decision. And in the same sentence, she says, even if she wanted to continue the pregnancy. People, that is a stupid comment. You can't have it both ways, Judge. Either she can say she wants to continue her pregnancy or she can't. Who are you? Who in the world are you, Judge Levin, to rob this child and her mother of that child? You know, she said, I think that she would like to have a baby in the same way she would like to have a new doll. Well, that may be true. But you have to remember, this is a grown woman, and her mother takes care of her, and she's willing to also take care of the child. So what is the problem, Judge? She added that having a child is much more traumatic for a woman than having an abortion, and because it's less traumatic, she ruled this woman with limited mental capacities, child must be aborted. But now I have this question. I want to know who's the father of that child. I want to know who had access to this woman to get her pregnant. How did it happen? There is where I can see why the judge ruled the way she did. I don't know what her thinking was, but my thinking is this. Somebody probably raped that girl. I don't know who it was, because if she's too mentally handicapped to mother or birth a child, then she certainly too young mentally to have sex with anybody. So my question now is, who is the father of that child? Maybe that had something to do with the judge's ruling. Maybe she thought, well, she's in her mother's care and here she is pregnant. Who has her mother been allowing her to be with intimately? Do you see where I'm coming from, people? I don't agree with this judge on abortion at all. But if there's a problem in the household with that mother and her daughter who is mentally handicapped, who got pregnant. Now I want to know who got her pregnant. And why. And how. And who allowed it. So maybe I do understand the judge's ruling on not letting a child be birthed and taken into this home. But the child could still have been birthed. The child could have been put up for adoption. And if the worst case scenario, could have been put in foster care. But the baby would not have been killed and murdered on the order of this judge. I don't know her reasoning, but it makes a little sense to me. But the abortion end of it makes no sense. No sense at all. I mean, it's totally crazy, people. How can this happen in a normal society? I'm going to tell you a little story. I've told you many times before that my mother was a caregiver for many years. And you know, she worked in a nursing home a lot of years, and she also did private duty. She was working in a nursing home years ago, and there was a woman there who was comatose. She'd been that way for a long, long time. She didn't know she was in this world. But she lived. She breathed on her own, and they fed her through a feeding tube, and she stayed alive for a long, long time. But she wound up pregnant. Of course, it was pretty simple to figure out who the father was. There was only one man working in the whole facility at any given time. So yeah, he raped her. But when they found out she was pregnant, the doctors in the family decided to let her birth that baby. Actually, I think it was taken cesarean. But it was given to this woman's sister. She adopted that baby right out of the mother's womb and raised that child. And now that child, I'm sure, has a family of her own. But people, these things happen. We can't control what goes on behind closed doors, and it only takes a minute, people. It only takes a minute for these women to get pregnant. I know in the case of my mother's situation, this man was charged. He was charged with rape, and he went to prison. But she birthed that baby, if you want to call cesarean section of birthing. But she had the baby. And the baby was offered a life that if it had been aborted would never have known. Do you see where I'm coming from, people? It's better to birth a baby and give it away than to ever murder a preborn child. I want to tell you a little story about a real idiot out of Texas. This woman's name is Lexus Stagg. She's 26 years old, and she's accused of killing her 3-year-old son after running over him in a game of chicken. People, did you hear that? This woman ran over her child playing chicken with a vehicle. It was an SUV. It was a big vehicle. So here's what she did. Stagg was playing a game with her 3 children by trying to run over them and they were supposed to jump out of the way. Well, her 3-year-old failed to jump out of the way, and he was ran over by both right side tires. People, who in their right mind would take their kids out into a parking lot, tell them to stand right here, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to come right at you, and at the last second you jump out of the way? Well, 2 of the children got out of the way. But that 3-year-old didn't have the mental ability to know to get out of the way. And now he's dead. And you know what this woman told the police? She told the police, I thought I ran over a speed bump. Well, lady, let me tell you something. You are in your own parking lot of your apartment complex. You know where the speed breakers are. You know where the speed bumps are. You knew full well you ran over your child and there was no speed bump anywhere around you. So quit your lying. You knew it wasn't a speed bump because the surveillance cameras shows you driving toward your 3 children as they ran toward the front of your SUV. Woman, how stupid can you be? An SUV is a weapon. I can't believe that you were playing games with your 3 children with a 2,500-pound car. Maybe it weighs 3,000 pounds. I don't know. But that SUV was what was used to murder this little child. You say it wasn't murder, it was an accident, but no, it wasn't an accident. Surveillance cameras show you plainly playing chicken with your children in a car. You know, she tried to say that speed bump is what she felt, when it was her 3-year-old child. And she ran over it with both wheels. So she had to be going fast enough toward those children that when she hit that little 3-year-old child, she didn't just hit him and knock him out of the way. She hit him and she ran over him with both tires, and he was at the tail end of her vehicle back there somewhere. That's how fast she was going. She never hit her brakes until after she had done ran over this child. Stagg previously, back in 2013, had 2 children removed from her custody and put in protective services. And now, since running over that poor little 3-year-old child, the other 2 children have also been taken away. Friends, every parent has an obligation to protect their children, and cars are nothing to play with, and you should never play chicken with your children with a car. How crazy was this woman? How crazy is anyone that thinks that that would be a game? People, I didn't mean to go so long, but it's a crying shame what happens. This kind of stuff happens to our children every day. People have children and they shouldn't have. They let terrible things happen to them. And a lot of times they're the reason these children are injured or dead. It's not always someone else. It's not always a predator. The evil that harms these children lives right in the house with them. People, I'm Deplorable Bobby. This is the way I see it. Pray for our children. Pray for the preborns. Pray for those born alive, thank God. Pray for the exploited, the trafficked, and the abused, and the sexually abused. Pray for each other. Pray for me and Michelle. Pray for me that I'll forever do the right thing. I'll talk to y'all later.